I just realized I've made the same mistake I always make with these videos. There's no good fade out or fade to black before it comes to But listen, you live, you learn, you get loves. Welcome to Contributing with Fatima and Pj. I'm Pj Metz, Education Evangelist at GitLab, and with me today, and who will be with me every time I do this show, is Fatima.
Hi, I'm Fatima, developer evangelist and voice of the community, which I feel like fits with my role at GitLab.
Heck yeah. I'm going to experiment with some backgrounds here for a second. Ooh. Because
Ooh.
I don't know if I should use the same background I use on other streams. This
I
orange
like
one's
this one.
kind of...
It's very global. Oh, this one's very bright.
And you lose the tanuki in the background for sure.
I know it's there because of the gradient.
That's right. I can see his nose. I like this one too. It's a little uneven, but
oh, this one's perfect because I have hat. I have ears.
That's
I'm just gonna stand like this.
That's
for
right.
The entire stream until my legs get tired.
That's what's important. Observant viewers will note that those are the old ears back there, so maybe we're not allowed to use that. But here we go.
No.
Maybe this one. We're global. We're talking about contributing. This is our first episode of what will be a multi-part series talking about how eventually to contribute to GitLab specifically, but really also about open source contributions and why you should do it and how to do it and all those kind of questions and things that I don't always know the answer to, which is why Fatima's here, because she actually knows about this stuff.
Yeah, I know. Open source contributions are super important, super rewarding. The communities want them, the projects want them, and I think a lot of different open source software have figured out different ways to make it work. Like I've worked primarily with Drupal, but other places have done it in different ways. So we'll chat about that, and we'll also chat about how GitLab does it and how you can help us contribute. I am looking forward to that.
Me too. To full disclosure, full transparency, how to contribute to GitLab is actually something that Fatima are going to be kind of learning as we go. It is first off, I have literally never done Ruby on Rails in my life. Fatima, have you ever worked with Ruby on Rails?
I think I had an interview. It was at Code for America, and they were like, "Are you fine with Ruby on Rails?" And I was like, "I'll figure it out." And then I got there and I tried, and I couldn't do. I couldn't. Like it was just like constant stumbling. And I remember the feedback they had given me was like, "You didn't really know what you were doing with test-driven development." And I was like, "Thanks. I kind of told you that though."
Yeah, so I don't know this.
Experience.
I kind of realized, actually, I was talking to one of our coworkers. I was talking to Jamie today, and I realized that I should learn some Ruby on Rails, and I should check into seeing what I can figure out about it. And I have this subscription to Codecademy, so I was like, well, why not do that? And they have a Ruby on Rails course. They say it'll take about 10 hours. So next week, you can expect me to be an expert. You don't have to do it all in one sitting.
Is that what you're doing this weekend?
That's right. That's right. This weekend, when I'm not working, I'm just going to be, hacking the planet with some Ruby on Rails at Codecademy.
Now I need TikTok of PJ on the weekend to like a really fast track, just like cat typing. like just random screenshots of Ruby.
That's exactly how I develop, actually, is I just swat at the keyboard until words appear.
Until the pipeline passes.
Yeah, hit the keyboard until the pipeline passes. GitLab 2022. I am so excited to be doing this, and Fatima, like you joined our team about 6 months ago.
Yeah, I joined like late December of last year. It's hard to believe. It feels like we've all been bonding for so long. Like it's hard to believe it's been 5.5 months. Yeah.
I should have, when I first became your onboarding buddy, I should have been like, one day we're going to be streaming together about something neither of us knows a lot about. And you would have been like, actually, that's kind of exciting. Let's do it. We can start tomorrow.
I remember watching your stream and then O'Leary crew, like whenever the two of you would be online and just like commenting and being like, wow, that's really cool. I know people who stream for work and then I know people who stream for games. And it was just like, it's like how I didn't expect to do that as part of the job. So it's very interesting.
To be fair, streaming was not part of the job, and I showed up. I was like, "Do y'all have Twitch?" And they were like, "No, we don't." I was like, "Can I?" And they were like, "Well, I wonder." And I was like, "I already did. Thank you. It's
I feel like
happening."
that's the GitLab way, right? You're a manager of one, so you decided that streaming was beneficial. And then you did. Like, we decided that we were going to contribute and it was going to be helpful for people to know. And then it happened.
Yeah, well, so and that sort of ties into like how did this come about? And this came about because we've been talking a lot about contributing at work. It's one of the things that we're trying to focus on at GitLab is to drive contributions and have more people come and be a part of building GitLab with GitLab. And it's a company-wide initiative, and you and I were like, I think it's because of me. I was like, I was looking at like the GitLab development kit that I have to download, and I got confused. And you're like, well, what if we look at it together? And so we started looking at it together, and then you were like, this could be really useful. And I was like, are we making a show? And you're like, we made a show, and so then the show happened.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me about the GDK, and I was like, I didn't know we had that. And then there's a lot more there. Like, you created a separate account, and you were trying to like go through the process. And I was like, wow, PJ, like I should go through the process too. And then we like, I still haven't. I haven't gone through the GDK process, so that's something that I think will be fun. It'll happen live. There will be roadblocks.
That's right. There will be roadblocks, and I think I've said before that one of the most important things about making tutorials and making like workshops and making things where people are expected to create while it happens is to be honest about roadblocks you're going to encounter, is to be honest about bugs and things that are not going to go according to plan, because that's reality.
Yeah, for the record, 0 experience contributing to GitLab. I don't even have merge access yet, so
I'm a little concerned because I don't either, and I think they're keeping it from me. They're like, this dude was an English
how is our
teacher.
contribution gonna get accepted? It's
gonna have I'm just gonna ping my
legit.
manager. I was gonna be like, please merge this. Don't ask questions. It
I
fixes
feel like
a lot.
we can't do that because that's not authentic. We're gonna have to ping the person the bot tells us to ping. You know how the bot shows up and it's like the new beta feature where it's like, here's the recommended people for this type of contribution. We should follow whatever that process is and see how it goes.
That bot is a pretty cool little feature. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, when you make a merge request and you ask to push some code into the GitLab code base, a bot shows up and says, hey, this is a beta feature. We are testing out to see if we can use machine learning to see if we can figure out who the best person to tag for a review is. And at least one person usually recommends like 5 people. At least one I've noticed has usually been like, yeah, that's the person who should be tagged. So it's been kind of cool to see that happening.
Yeah, or not happen correctly. That's fine.
Or not happen correctly.
PJ has really convinced me that the errors and the mistakes are the fun part. So I'm gonna just keep reminding myself that, like,
I'm very
every episode
excited.
I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna fail.
PJ likes errors.
And
that's actually
likes
I'm going to put that on my resume for sure. Let people know I'm error prone.
Error
I have to drink a lot of water. Fatima, you have to drink a lot of water too.
Yeah, so I told my cousin, I'm at my cousin's house in Boston. I was like, I have to stream for the first time ever from like 3:30 to 4 Eastern time. And she was like, well, you better hydrate. So I have this lovely bottle of water. I've gotten to about like 1/13 of the bottle.
You're doing pretty good so far. This is like my 5th cup of water. I have to hydrate because my air conditioner broke and it's 87 degrees in my house right now.
Oh my god. Yeah,
I'm
hang in there.
Yep.
We're going to be in Austin next week, and it's 102. I'm not looking forward
That's
to it.
right. You are. Let's actually, before we dive into, we've talked about how the show started. You and I need to get familiar with contributing to GitLab. So we're going to learn live, and it's going to be over several episodes. We've talked about how you and I know each other and just the work we do, and I'm very excited for all of this. You're going to be at Open Source Summit in Austin next week, right?
This is correct. I'm going to be doing booth duty for the first time. I'm going to run some newsletter signups. We have this community newsletter that we're working on that will, show you opportunities to contribute, but also share things that we're working on and cool projects. And it's kind of like a learn, discuss, and contribute newsletter. So we'll be getting signups for that so that we can start sending out some content. We're also doing a coding challenge that our colleague Brendan is working on. So lots of fun stuff happening at Open Source Summit next week.
I am trying to find that coding challenge right now, actually, to see if we can post it.
The link to it?
Yeah.
I think I have it.
One of the worst things about Google is how it goes. Did you mean GitHub? If you have it, I'll take it. Perfect. Codechallenge.dev. Thank you. Yep, codechallenge.dev is a little code challenge we have to help people get more familiar with GitLab. So if you go to here, codechallenge.dev, and check that out, you can sign up with a GitLab account, and it will give you a chance to experience what it's like to contribute to GitLab. It starts out easy. Adjust this README, fork this, do that. And eventually the last challenge is a little more complicated. You're actually making a merge request to contribute directly to GitLab.
Yeah, there was a funny story. I'm running through the code challenge today, just testing it out to see and like updating any like README or documentation as I go. And I managed to solve the third challenge while doing the first challenge. So it was just a weird quirk where Brendan was like, close merge request. Don't do that.
How did you do that?
Well, you'll know if you solve all 3 levels of the code challenge.
That's right. You'll know exactly how Fatima was able to skip a grade, apparently.
It was really funny. I thought I was being smart. I was like, you have an issue here. Let me fix that for you. And Brendan was like, no, actually, that's the third challenge.
Nope. You're doing great. It's wonderful, but also please hold on. So what is you said neither of us have contributed to GitLab outside of the contributing to the handbook, which we have to do as part of our jobs. Our handbook at GitLab is 2,000 web pages of information about how everything at the company works. So we've done that. We've written merge requests, but we haven't contributed to the project itself. So that's new for us. What have you contributed to, Fatima? What have you worked? You said Drupal earlier. What's Drupal?
Yeah, so right out of school, I started working in Drupal, and Drupal is all about come for the code, stay for the community. And so I started out trying to contribute to the CMS project, doing issues here and there with some of the initiatives like Layout Builder, but mostly contributing to some of the community-based initiatives. So being on the program team for DrupalCon, or doing session reviews, or running local meetups. So a lot of it has been that. And then something funny we talked about was I did very little contribution and then became a contribution mentor. So a lot of people did contribution because I helped them, but that was far greater than the amount of stuff I personally did. So all of a sudden I was a contribution lead. And so Drupal has this really organic, they really like to push you into the leadership roles, when they find somebody who's good at mentoring. And so I was just why am I leading? I don't contribute.
So sometimes it's that you're really good at getting others what they need in order to contribute. And I think that's really useful. And I think that really speaks to something I've learned about just tech in general, that it's not always the 10x engineer or the person who is the best coder that is the person best suited to contribute to other areas of a job that makes it successful.
Yeah, a lot of times with contribution, there's so much process. And if you have somebody, and I think we don't do it as well virtually, but at an event, you can have a room where there's a contribution mentor. They can walk you through the process. So they can find you an issue and help you figure out how to upload a patch, how to comment on something. And so I think that hand holding part of the process makes contribution easier. And that part I had gotten figured out. The actual understanding Drupal core and understanding the different modules, that took me several years, right? But in the beginning I was oh, process, I got this. And
Right.
then
And knowing the
usually,
process
yeah,
is hard,
yeah,
is oftentimes harder for some people than knowing the code, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think it's like you find your strengths, right? Like what's your path towards being a contributor? And that depends on, this almost feels like a flow chart, right? Like what are you good at? What do you enjoy?
That's right.
Yeah. Some
And
people
this
like crunchy problems, and some people just like helping other people succeed and stuff.
absolutely. And like when you said like, oh, processes, I can figure this out. I can do that. Yeah, someone can be absolutely amazing coder and writer, but then if it's a process to contribute that they're not familiar with, that can for many people be a barrier. And so that's something I think that this show will have a little bit of value add is we are looking to pull down barriers wherever they may be, whether it's in the process, whether it's in maybe the knowledge base, but we want to make sure that we live up to everyone can contribute. That's really important.
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree about the barriers. Like if there's something in that like 20-step process that makes you feel like, oh, I don't know how to install that, or I don't know how to set that up, and you don't have anyone guiding you through that, like you're likely to just walk away. Like you have to really want it to push through.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the struggles of open source in general is making sure that the processes are well documented. And as anyone who has worked with a couple of open source groups, you know that that can be the hardest thing for an open source group to do is to document the way to do things.
Yeah.
So you did Drupal for how many years? Were you like how long? You're like a Drupal queen, right? Like
Pretty much.
you're like well known. Like when you show up to the convention, everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's Fatima!" And they like whisper as you walk by, right?
Yeah, there's a joke at DrupalCon that like I can't get from point A to B if I have to meet someone because I keep getting stopped on the way. Oftentimes it's like people have seen me or known me or I'm on the Twitters, and so they like reference me, and so I'm just like stop. Like it'll take me 10 minutes.
That's amazing. You have to go
So
incognito.
like, sorry, I'm late. It's so hard. You know what I need? I need a bunch of matching hijabs and then volunteers to just put hijabs on and run around. So it'll be like ninja warriors running around the floor, and then I can like escape.
Fatima, for my first DrupalCon, I volunteered to be a Fatima decoy. Now here's the issue. I'm 6'6". So if I'm running around, I don't know that anyone's actually going to mistake me for you because I'm pretty sure I have at least a foot of height on you.
I wonder if that's how they find me so quickly. You know, I'm thinking about the idea of a decoy, and then I'm like, but I love those conversations. Like, PJ, you get these when you go to events where they're like, oh yeah, I've seen your Twitter bots, I've seen your streams, and you're just like, oh, you have?
My God, someone knows me? And normally I'm like, oh, did I make a mistake and everyone knows about it? No, they like knew me from like a little thing. Or they're like, oh, you made Shania about. I'm like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I met actually, and this is funny, my one experience, my first pull request I ever made on GitHub was when everyone was joking on Twitter about Infinidash being a new AWS service, and everyone was just making up whatever it could like. It can like reduce your costs, and it can also spin up things faster, and it can make K9s instead of K8s, and like all these things. And like I was nervous because I had a joke to contribute to. What I did is all these jokes were happening. I was like, I went to Brendan and I was like, Brendan, we should make merch. So we made Infinidash merch. And I was like, this is so fun. I tweeted about it, and the person who started the Infinidash joke is Joe Nash, who's at Twilio. And Joe was like, "Oh, this is cool. You should totally add it to the GitHub repository we have of Infinidash resources." I was like, "Oh, cool." And he was like, "Yeah, just make a PR and go." And I was like, literally 2 months into GitLab, a year into having ever started writing code, and I sort of like I looked at the GitHub thing and I was like, "Okay, pull request." I couldn't figure it out. But I did eventually. So I merged into the README my contribution, which was go to this website to buy Infinidash merch. And just so for those of you who are wondering, we didn't make a profit off of it. All the money that we made off of it, we donated to a group in Orlando called Zebra Coalition that helps LGBTQ kids deal with homelessness. So it wasn't like buy this stupid lightning bolt on a shirt so that me and Brendan can get beer money or whatever. It was for a good cause.
Good cause indeed. I hear you say like pull request, pull request, pull request, and I remember I think I even saw a few tweets when folks are always like, "What's a pull request?" And like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not intuitive. No, not shooting shots at GitHub at all. Just there are words in technology that don't make sense, and I think it happens in Drupal as well. Like we'll say things like "re-roll your patch," and folks are like, "Huh?" The first time someone was like, "You need to re-roll your patch against D8," I was just like, "Roll?"
This sounds like Dungeons and Dragons. Reroll
Yeah,
for initiative.
Exactly. Like you uploaded a patch a couple of weeks ago at an event. Imagine coming back and you get this notification and it says re-roll your patch, and then you're like, "Where's my mentor?"
I need Fatima, please.
I've seen people like unassign themselves from issues, but not say like, "I don't know what you want me to do," because like an issue queue is such a scary place. Like to be like, "I don't know what that means." They'll just be like, "I don't want to work on this anymore."
No, I gave up. I'm done. I think like this all ties back to process before, and something I learned in education is one of the best indicators of high performance on a test is actually familiarity with the format of the test. So if you give your students multiple choice all year long, and then at the end of the year you give them matching, that's a new format, and if they're not familiar with it, even if they know the information, that format might be restrictive in them being able to prove that they know the information. And so in education, we always have to consider, what are we testing? Are we testing their knowledge, or are we testing their knowledge of a process, or what are we assuming about their background knowledge? It is
This happened to us a lot in education.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a friend who used to say, "My teacher teaches me to fish for fish, and then asks me to catch a whale on the exam."
Yes.
Like the level of process like is not consistent, and the complexity of questions is not consistent.
Yeah, and this then ties into like when you talk about standardized testing, like the SAT or the GRE or the MCAT or the LSAT, these big standardized tests to get into specific colleges.
Yeah.
What are we testing? And then you're like, oh, well, the students who are most familiar with, let's say, the SAT tend to do better. Yeah, because they've been doing practice tests, because they can afford both time and money in order to afford to practice it. And if your first time taking the SAT, multiple times, if your first
turn the
time
question
taking the SAT,
inside out,
if your first time is your only time, what did we really test you on? And so when we're talking about contributing, again, it's the process, and every open source group is going to have a slightly different process as well.
Yeah, and a slightly different barrier to entry or complexity, and maybe documentation that isn't consistent. Like we're saying with exams, where it's like our documentation might teach you something, and then our issue queue might be something else.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh man, it's so interesting to me that like, and I feel like you get this too, the idea that my background knowledge can bring useful experience and useful sort of like references to my current career. I never would have thought that knowing about testing strategies or knowing about how to write a test would help me at GitLab, so
yeah, I think with technology, it's not about the piece of tech or the software or the website as much as it is about like the interactions and like the impact, and you bringing in that other knowledge helps make those technology better. Like ultimately, like it's not about the issue queue, it's about the project that we're building. And I think that gets forgotten because in a lot of open source communities, like the highest achievement is contribution credits, or like how much code you've pushed in. Like metrics are based on like how many times you committed to this project, or like how many lines of code you've removed or added. And I think that fails because it's not really about that. Like it's important to build good projects, and open source is integral, but it's also about like what's your on-ramp like, and like what kinds of contributors are you bringing in, and like do you have contributor pathways for someone who is really good at analyzing patterns versus is really good at writing, is very good at testing. Like if you only have one path, it's going to be really hard to take everyone along that path.
Right. And one path is sometimes easy to fall into because when you start with open source, it's you and people you know trying to create something. So
Yeah.
for you, 3, 2, 5, 6 maybe people, sure, like that path works for y'all. But if you want to grow, you have to make sure you have other ways to enter into that. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh man, yeah, it really is important to just know what it's like. Think about the first time you did an MR for GitLab.
The first time I did an MR for GitLab,
Like when they asked you to, I think one of
that
the
was
things.
adding myself to the project. Did you have to do that one too in onboarding? The one where you
Oh
have to
yes,
add your profile page?
and it
Do
was
you
like add your profile page to this YAML file, and I was like, what is YAML? Fun.
The amount of times I panicked about installing the handbook on my local. For some reason, I completely missed the web IDE section. So I was like doing all this weird stuff to get Ruby working on my computer. And, there was a cohort of people who had gotten hired at the same time. So there was multiple threads and multiple channels about Ruby issues. And I was just losing my mind. I was like, it's day 7 or week 5. I look incompetent right now. Like and John was like, hey, like I noticed you haven't made any handbook MRs. And I was like, I'm trying, guys, so hard. Yeah.
That web
And then
ID
I
was a lifesaver.
And then I had to lint the YAML because I left too many spaces or something.
There is nothing. Listen, like too many spaces. The indent's wrong. You got a straight comma.
Apostrophe shouldn't be in there.
And
the worst one, PJ, I put GitLab with a lowercase L, and so John was like, John is my
with
manager.
the twitchy face.
So it took me 3 days, no lie, to get this MR up and to make sure it was perfect because I'm still working on the iteration thing. Like I'm not really good at like rough work up front, which is why this stream will be good for me. But I you put all your love into it. You've tested it. You thought 13,000 times before you deployed it, and then your manager still finds mistakes in it and like grammar errors in your biography. You're just like, bye. I will be leaving.
Spelled my own name.
Yeah. And then something was missing. I think the photo was missing. And I was like, like you have to upload it to a very specific directory and you have to name it. And I was the photos were like named differently and I was like losing. It was a losing battle.
That was your first encounter with a process in the way that this group wants it to be done. Yeah, it's for work. Yeah, it's not. We're open core, but even this part wasn't about the open core or the open source. It was just work. But even that has its difficulties, and you got paid for it. Imagine someone who doesn't get paid running into a barrier on your open source project and going, "Well, no, I'm not. Goodbye."
Yeah. At that point, had I not been paid, goodbye. I think when the YAML linter was yelling at me in my browser, like maybe there's a guide for this in the handbook, but it's possible there isn't. But there wasn't like here's how to set up your IDE for our handbook. And so I installed some random linter, and it wasn't like the way that we set up our linter.
It was a different linter. Oh no!
And my ID had not been opened for a really long time at that point, right? And so
yeah.
Never install Ruby on your local. Just don't do it. Don't.
Actually, this is not GitLab advice. This is Fatima advice.
This is my personal advice. Do not install Ruby. Use a virtual machine. Use GitLab.
I'm going to get an audio of you saying, "Do not install Ruby." So later, when we're literally putting gems on our machine for the GDK, I can just hit a sound effect button and it'll be you going, "Do not install Ruby."
PJ, we never really decided who was gonna install it, how. Like maybe I want to do this whole thing on Gitpod.
Listen, The fact that you can do it on Gitpod is a big plus. Don't go local, do it on Gitpod. For those of you who don't know, Gitpod is a instance of VS Code directly in your browser, and it's fantastic. It's so good. I am always talking about Gitpod to people who are listening. I'm jealous of the people who are at KubeCon EU who got to meet the Gitpod people who like do stuff with us. Oh, Gitpod. I'm just thinking about how much I love Gitpod now. Is that weird?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I took us on a detour. Tell me
No,
about your first merge request, if you remember it. You're like a merge request boss now.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I'm not a boss of anything.
Excuse me, what was the question I had? I think there was a question I had where I was like, I don't know how draft. Oh, there was a question on the forum where someone was asking about why draft was getting appended to the title of their merge request. And I was stuck. And you were the one who demonstrated the error to me with 2 different merge requests. And I was like, and like took a screen recording on Slack and uploaded it. And I was just like, wow. You know that emoji where it's just like drooling rainbows?
Oh, just like, drooling a rainbow?
That's me. I was like, I aspire to be like PJ and to just like edit merge requests and test things. Like at that point I wasn't that comfortable yet. And so that like in my mind, you're like the merge request boss.
I think that's only because like that was you were like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, I kind of know what to do. And I just like stumbled my way through it. But to an outsider, it may have looked like I gracefully knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, it was like a 3-minute recording or something. And it was exactly what I needed to know.
Screen recordings to show what's going on is my bread and butter for sure. Oh my gosh. There's a have you ever encountered the danger bot in a merge request on GitLab?
I've heard about this, yes.
Okay. The danger bot makes sure that conventions are followed. But it's just a bot. It's not aggressive. It's all very like fact of matter. It's like, oh, you need to do this, need to do this, need to do this. But because it's so matter of fact and it comes from a bot, it feels aggressive. So I tried to do a merge request one time for I think there was a migration day Friday where we were changing a bunch of stuff for pajamas for our CSS stuff.
Pajamas.
And yeah, it's called pajamas. And I tried to do something and the danger bot showed up in my merge request and was like, just so you know, commit messages are supposed to start with a capital letter. Just so you know. And there was like 8 things wrong with it. And I was like, oh. And I like got really nervous that someone was going to look at that and be like, who's this guy? And then they'd see that I work for GitLab and they'd be like, oh, no, we got to get them out of here. Don't let him near the code ever again.
I've seen it recently on contributions because it'll show up when someone submits a contribution and it'll be like, danger, this contribution must be reviewed by the following people before it gets merged. Like it's really intense. But helpful because it's like here's all of the people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's again, I was like, oh gosh, what did I do? But it is like, here's what you should be doing. By the way, here's a person who you can like reach out to and like talk to.
The zero button.
Yes.
The operator button where it's like, I just want to speak to a human right now.
Every time I call someone, I always go 0000000, and then they go, we will connect you, and I'm like, yes, thank you. I don't want to say my name.
You to an associate.
Yes, I need an associate because like, So real quick, let's talk about like, why would you contribute? We've talked about how to contribute, how to help people contribute, how to lower barriers of entry for contribution. What is the reason to even do it? To expose yourself to those difficult barriers sometimes, to put yourself out there, to fight a danger bot?
Contribution is good for experience. You know, you get a chance to see a real world project, to get insight into, you know, how different people structure and strategize depending on your own experience. Like maybe it's a different sector that you're not used to working in. You get all of that experience. You get to engage with people that you may not work with on a day-to-day basis. It's a lot of really good experience. It's usually asynchronous, and so it's this like, it's not like you're all sitting in a room like a hackathon, which is like a very different feeling. It's more like long term, and then you see the project grow and your name stays with it, and that contribution exists, which is also really exciting. I think a lot of people work on things at companies that never like see the light of day, and I think open source means it's meaningful and someone's going to use it. Even, someone's going to read that documentation and it's going to help them. And to me, like, that personally just feels like I did a good deed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a doctor, but I saved a life.
I'm not a doctor, but, and then like what follows is I contributed to open source, and people
My
are like,
family,
wow.
The way they understand open source, because they don't really understand tech, is the Robin Hood. And so when people ask them, like, what does that niece of yours do? My uncle will just say, like, she's like a technology Robin Hood. And I'm like, I'll take it. It kind of works.
Accessible, everyone can get involved, and there's no we're always trying to lower barriers to entry. Like, we want more people involved, not just at GitLab, every open source project. If every maintainer and owner could have all the people they wanted contributing,
all the projects would be amazing. Yeah,
all the projects would be amazing.
Yeah, and
things like libraries too, like open source libraries, where it's like, hey, this is something that I made that helps me and mine. That can become massively popular too.
Because it's useful and it helps you for a project. Someone else is probably working on that as well. The other thing is community. Like, you do get to work with these people asynchronously across the world. You might see them at a conference. You might build relationships over time. Like, if you're both really passionate about something, I have to say, like, 60% of my like current friend group is all through open source projects, and like, it's really amazing.
I think it's really cool. Like, if you thought about what it would be like for you if you hadn't found Drupal and been a part of that community, you would be in a very different life trajectory. And so for you, open source seems massively important.
Absolutely. Yeah. My friend group would be different. I wouldn't be living in California because I came here to do more open source work. Yeah, like, it would be massively different. I basically, in Drupal, we say like, come for the code, stay for the community. And I like came for the community, and then I did a little bit of code later. And so I definitely, to anyone who feels kind of isolated, whether it's in the public sector or private sector, like, if you have the time, because I know not everyone has the time to contribute, but if you have the time, the resources, you should do it. I guarantee that maybe not the first contribution, but maybe the second and the third, like, you'll start to build that connection with people. And those are really valuable connections. Those are folks that you might not meet in your local neighborhood or at the grocery store.
I think for open source especially, it's important to understand for yourself that, like, your first contribution is not going to define you, and your first contribution is not the way you contribute necessarily.
100%.
That it takes work and it takes time, but if you keep at it, there can be really, really amazing things that you end up finding. You find community, you find like-minded people. It opens up your world in a way that simply studying and learning to code and learning to write programs and learning all these things, once you do open source, there's an automatic community element to it. It's working together for a common goal. And if you're looking for a job, that's really important right off the bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Gives you that experience, gives you an edge. Employers know that you're passionate about something. You can see something through all the way. Yeah, definitely. When you said like your first contribution doesn't define you, I was like, well, if I threw you in a swimming pool and you couldn't swim, like, that would not be fair.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We can't judge someone like that.
You have to learn. You have to figure out where you are, and you have to learn the rhythm, and the process. And then once you're in that rhythm, then we can start expecting some contributions. That, yeah, my first was like erasing a line of documentation. And everyone in the hall gave me a high five. Like, I was like, all done. It got committed live. Like, it was a very exciting moment. And I remember thinking to myself, like, y'all, it was a line. I deleted a line. Like, the doc comment for a function was too long.
I didn't even add anything. I just highlighted in
And
backspace.
people were giving me high fives and hugs, and I was like, y'all have lost your mind.
Yeah,
But
this
I
sounds like
look
a
back
cult.
to the moment, and I'm like, if they hadn't celebrated it, I would have been like, oh, it was just documentation. I don't know what I'm doing, And so that really that solidified oh, I want to do this again, and I want to feel welcomed, and I want to do something bigger, but this is where I start.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Oh, fantastic. So we've talked about why we're doing the show. We've talked about our experience with open source, which you have tons of great experience with Drupal. And I once did a pull request on a joke. I really don't have a lot of experience with open source. But one thing I do know, which is what we just talked about, is how important open source can be for individuals. So I feel like a big thing for me is I should probably find some open source thing to contribute to eventually. I just gotta find the time in between streaming 3 times a day and writing.
You have to find something in Python for you.
That's probably, I did just learn Python and now I'm a total Python expert. That's for sure.
100%. Yeah, something in Python that scratches your itch and scratches someone else's itch as well.
How can you help me while I help you? What line of documentation do I need to delete for y'all?
Did you hear that, everyone? If you've got extraneous documentation, you better hit up PJ right now.
I know how to delete things real good. I promise. I'm great at it. So we have a very special guest today, and hopefully this show is going to have several special guests because we have open source folks on our team. We have people who wrote coding challenges, which is all about contributing. And I feel like we're going to have people on this stream all the time. And I know for today's episode, we didn't actually write anything. And that's fine because it's the first episode. We had to talk about our history and we had to drink water. And there's a lot we had to do. And hang
get to know each other.
Yeah,
build up some norms.
Build up some norms.
Do our first contribution to the stream of contribution.
Yeah, you can't contribute to the contributions until you've contributed to the stream, really. And that's pretty common knowledge, honestly. But our very special guest today is a person that we both work with and that we both love very much as you can love someone that you work with. Ladies, gentlemen, non-gender conforming folks out there, please welcome to the stream, Christos Bacharakis.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
I thought I was sweating through the shirt. I'm good.
No, I cannot see anything.
You don't know this, but my air conditioning is broken and it's currently 87 degrees Fahrenheit in my house.
Wait, I need to see how much that in Celsius.
I think it's like 30.
It's hot. It's really hot. Yeah, it's really hot. It's really hot.
So
yeah.
To Celsius
30?
is 29.44.
30. It's exactly 30.
Oh.
30. I got 30.5.
For 85 Fahrenheit?
87.
No, for 87.
Okay, I heard wrong, so.
Okay. You were correct. You just had a bad input. Christos, you're here. I'm very excited to have you here. This is great. How about you tell the people who you are, what you do, and why we have you on a stream about contributing?
All right. Hello. Thanks for having me. Oh, full screen myself.
You're the big boy now. That's right.
I'm the big boy now. No, I was like, I'm Christos. I'm Greek living in Berlin. I'm really excited to be here. I was listening to your stories and I was like, I felt like I have a similar story in open source. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for open source because I started contributing back in 2006 or something to the Fedora project for various reasons. My first contribution was like, as you said, like you should not let your first contribution define you. It was localization, which is another important contribution that, you know, people say, oh, it's boring. I don't want to localize. I don't want to do translation. But actually, localization is one of the most important things because not everyone speak English.
Yes.
So, you know, elderly people who don't speak the language, it's always useful to have their software localized to their language. And people often confuse, they think localization is translation, but it's not just translation. It's like trying to adjust the software to the culture, to the language, to everything. So yeah, I wouldn't be here without, you know, all this amazing open source community. Suddenly from a person who was living in a small town in Greece, I was part of a larger community of diverse and inclusive people from around the world. It was amazing. People with different cultures, with different backgrounds. I started to learn, things about India, about the United States, about Brazil, which I was not aware of. When you're like 18 years old and you haven't traveled, you don't get to like be exposed to these kinds of things. And suddenly, I was part of a global community, which I really loved, and that was like the driving force for me. And not only that, the experience you get, you suddenly are part of a larger organization. You work side to side with talented people who mentor you, who help you evolve, who help you, grow as an individual. And this is something that I really, really loved it. And yeah, I thank all this amazing community out there and I feel privileged enough to be part of that and be here. I have a background in software development, let's say, but that's not necessarily what I do. And what I've been doing the past years is exactly what I experienced with open source. I'm trying to have other people have this opportunity to contribute, to be like, hey, be part of something global, get experience, work something that matters. Because in the end of the day, open source is not only about writing code. It's also about having an impact, contributing to something that it's gonna be available to everyone. People can take it, can use it, can evolve it, can adjust it, can solve a lot of people needs.
Yeah.
I remember back then it was like one laptop per child. It was a huge effort for developed countries in Africa. A super small laptop that was fully open source. Kids could take it and like use it to learn how to code. Oh, sorry, I'm going down the memory lane.
That's right. Well, listen, you said you've been contributing since 2006, so like you really know what's going on, and you really, when you talked about localization, like it's so important because that is a major way to lower barriers for other people to come and be a part of it. It's literally like sending an invitation to a part of the world that doesn't currently have an invitation.
That's correct. That's correct. And there are a lot of different things. People think that it's only code contribution that matter. No, no. Localization, design. Just sometimes only your feedback. It's really important. Also nowadays being more inclusive and diverse. It also matters. Something that people don't necessarily think about is like blindness. It's a
Yeah.
thing. Some people are colorblind, and we need to have that in mind. And a lot of people who are contributing be like, hey, they just open an issue and be like, hey, I cannot necessarily understand or see that because I'm colorblind. And even that opening an issue and providing feedback is a sort of contribution.
Yes, absolutely. So, Christos, I'm going to post the link about contributing at GitLab. Before you came to GitLab, I think I remember correctly, you were at Mozilla?
That's correct.
Awesome. So you came to GitLab and you're helping us do all of this amazing contribution work. And I've just posted the main website, about.gitlab.com/community/ wait, is that a backslash or a forward slash?
Forward.
It's a forward/.
Forward. It leans forward, right?
It leans forward. It depends how you say it.
Okay, but when I write it, I start forward and move back. So I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
About.gitlab.com/community/contribute. Yeah, tell us about contributing to GitLab and tell us about how that process looks, or just tell us about GitLab contributions, man.
For sure. All right. So yeah, before that, I was at Mozilla. I was doing something similar, trying to enable and help and make the experience of people contributing to open source and to some extent to right now with GitLab. I think I'm doing something similar. That's my goal, trying to lower the barrier, trying to for people who want to contribute to have like a rewarding, a smooth experience, an experience that's going to be like, let's say, a win-win for everyone, for both GitLab and not both for you. You're dedicating your time, you're dedicating your resource, your free time. It's really important that you're gonna you need to get something as a return, to get all the experience. So when it comes to contributing to GitLab, we have a bunch of different ways to contribute. For sure, development is one of these. And we also have localization. It's something that we're trying to spin up and try to better support the community there. When it comes to contribution, to technical contribution, there are a lot of different ways. Can I share my screen or?
Yes, there's a button on the bottom for sharing screen.
Perfetto. If I find it. I found it.
There you go.
Select screen. Get started. Contributing is okay. Perfect. I think that's gonna be like proper one. Can you? Oh, perfect.
And then I bring it in like this.
Perfect.
Nice.
And actually,
So-
I'm gonna go with.
Ooh.
I'm always trying to find the best way to do this.
I
That's
like
gonna be
this one. Oh, okay.
I don't want to jump a lot into details. I'm just gonna like briefly talk
No,
about.
you should totally jump into details. I want you to talk about the hackathons.
I will for sure. I will for sure. So when
Okay.
it comes to contribution opportunities, this is development and down. I mean, all this is like a really high level way of how you can contribute, finding an issue to contribute to, setting up the developer environment, and opening a merge request, which is like first. Okay, let's go first. First, finding an issue to contribute to. People always like this. From where do I begin? It's also overwhelming.
Yeah.
And difficult. I hear you. I have been there. So we created this really nice table at the bottom that kind of sorts out the projects and the opportunities based on contribution areas. So if you're into security, if you're into front end, back end, technical writing, or there are some issues on the website, we got you covered. So in the middle row, you can see like in the middle column, you can see the different guides on how to front end, the back end, and on the right, you see all links to issues to begin with. I'm getting a notification that one of my streams is having connection issues.
Oh, your
We're trying
audio
to-
is peaking a little bit, but it's really not that bad.
Okay, I will speak slow then.
It's hard for us. I know. You and I both talk fast.
All right. So the idea is that whatever you're most interested in, you click the right links and you find something to contribute to. If you need help, perfect. There's this help section. You go here,
Oh.
you click, and it's gonna take you to a place where you can get some help. The most important piece of help is like the contributor GitLab channel. If you click on that, you're gonna get into our chatting platform where you can connect with a bunch of contributors. This is where the magic happens. I'm not gonna zoom into because there's not a lot of right now. It's not that important to the context, but the idea is like you have a question. From where do I begin? You type it here. I like front end. I'm overwhelmed because on the contributing guide, for example, there are a bunch of different issues, and the community or GitLab team members, they're gonna help you. Everyone is there.
So this could be like, hi, I just got to your contribute page. I want to work on this issue. How do I start? And then I can jump in the Gitter and say that, and then someone will kind of walk me through that process.
Correct. We had a recent example from Sid had, I want to contribute to GitLab. Can anyone guide me what should I have to do as I'm a beginner? Lee was like, have you already looked at this page? Send to the page. Thanks. If there's more detailed questions, someone is gonna answer. Like there are other people who want to contribute right now, and we're sending them to the contribute page. But if you have some specific questions about an issue, you can always like come here and ask, or you can go directly to the issue. For example, if I go to front-end related issues here, a huge list.
This is the list we're picking from, right, PJ?
That's right. I can do anything on that list right now for sure.
It's definitely my internet. Definitely my internet.
Oh.
See, I got an error.
Oh,
All right,
no.
refresh, or maybe I put GitLab down. That would be fun.
This is all part of the stream process.
That's right.
I have the tendency of breaking stuff. See?
I can try clicking on the front end issues and see if I.
Maybe I'll try to the UX related issues. Maybe I get better luck here.
Mine is slow too.
Oh no!
Oh
Maybe everyone who's on the stream right now, they're taking on the issues. So
Everyone's contributing. They're so
no!
busy.
That would be amazing. It loaded, but it took a good 3 minutes to load.
okay. In theory, imagine you have a list of issues here, and there are some things that you
Would
don't.
you like me to screen share, Christos,
yeah.
and then
If
you
you
can
can.
talk through it? Yeah. Hey, hang on. Let me do it.
So the way this is working is it's issue labels, right?
Mhm. We use
And
issue
then-
labels, but the thing is that it's better to find the issue you want to contribute to from the contributing guide, because we making sure that all the issues are there in a way handpicked or tailored, or like maintainers are like reviewing them and making sure that these are like easy for people to begin with, or yeah, they are catered.
That's pretty interesting. So when we're talking about this, those links really just it takes you to like the whole list of issues, but specifically it's like front end, and then if you wanted to, you could also add like good for first timers.
I got it.
Oh yeah. Oh, so
Share my screen
colorful.
again. Oh, perfect. All right. So why don't you open an issue?
Oh no! Any issue?
Any issue doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just pick one.
Hmm.
I just want
Pick
to.
one.
All right.
Pick one that doesn't have the confidential one. Yeah, perfect.
Selected projects are not reflected in
All right.
toolkit.
Okay. Perfect. So let's say that there is a case. Normally, at GitLab, we do an amazing work documenting the things that they need to change. This is like probably is an issue. It's a bug that needs to be solved. So you have the step to reproduce how you produce this bug, what is the current bug behavior, and what is expected correct behavior. So right now, for example, if this is something that you want to work on, there are also screenshots, which is highly appreciated from people. If you want to work on, you just work on that, and you can make a comment and be like, "Hey, I want to work on that." And if you're doubting about, okay, what are the changes that I need to apply? Where is the source code and things like that? You can leave a comment and be like, "Hey," to the author. Who's the author of this issue? Fatima, can you go on the
Is
top?
it Ezekiel?
Ezekiel. Okay, you can.
Ezekiel?
Perfect. You can tag and be like, hey, I want to work on that. I think I have an idea, but can you walk me through, or is this what I need to change? And you can, and normally that person will provide you feedback within the 24, 48 hours. We're pretty good at responding to that. And yeah, this is, you find something to work on, you leave a comment, and then you can interact with GitLab team members. We're going to help you go through the source code and can help you, figure out the changes that you need to apply. Simple as that.
I kind of want to go rocket ship. 15.1. I hope this gets fixed in 15.1.
Yeah, go for it. Add emotion.
Okay, here we go. Woo!
All right, Fatima has officially contributed, y'all. That's the show. We did it.
What I wanted to say, can I go back sharing my screen, please?
Yeah, here you go. Passing over.
Which, by the way, just so you both know, a little like interesting thing about we're using Restream. You can both have your screen shared, and I just choose whether or not to have it in the stream or not. It's not like Zoom where only one
Boss man.
I know things.
You're the master.
I am the Restream guy.
Got it.
Master.
All right.
I keep
There you
seeing
go,
the
Christos.
error though.
So let's say that we found something to work on, right? You found something to contribute to. Since the second one is like how to set up the development environment. There are two ways to do that. Yeah, there is the hard way, setting up this SDK, but also there's an easiest way, which is Gitbot. Gitbot is like it's how do I say it? It's setting up the development environment within a tab without having to do anything on your
In the cloud?
Yeah, in the cloud, and you can get an editor as well.
Oh, I was gonna look at their like official. They say spin up fresh automated dev environments in the cloud in seconds.
Fresh. If you want a fresh dev environment, get Gitpod.
First time it's gonna take you a few minutes because it's building up any much. So, but afterwards it's gonna take like minutes, and you can have a fully development environment with VS Code, and you can type stuff, and you can test, and you can make merge requests, and super fast, super efficient, super simple.
So, Christos, which method do you personally use when you're contributing or reviewing a contribution?
Gitbot, always Gitbot.
Okay,
There are
noted.
biased. I mean, there are some areas like security where you cannot use Gitbot because you need to run a batch of tests locally. But Gitbot is like the way that it's the way to go, for sure.
Okay.
Now, I want to briefly touch base on why someone to contribute, which is the most important. I think you both extensively discussed about it earlier, but I just want to put my some color there.
Absolutely, yes. Christos, why should someone contribute?
Not a planned question. I didn't type that.
Not at all.
Seamless.
So shameless. Well, the unique thing about the GitLab community, and let me just go to the chat here, is like, other than being a diverse community from around the world, who are respectful, it's inclusive. I really like that because the whole community is aligned with GitLab values about transparency, about diversity, about inclusion, about the sense of belongingness. Also, the GitLab team members are super amazing people. They're always going to be there. They're going to help you. They're going to guide you. They're going to mentor you, and you're going to have the opportunity to learn from them. And I cannot describe that. It's like you need to feel it. You need to experience that. Something you can get so many new knowledge, so many new skills by just like doing a super simple MR. The mentors are going to take some time to walk you through the changes, and they're going to help you understand how GitLab works. And it's not about understanding the product, just the product. You understand how developing a software works. So there being a lot of we did a survey the other day, and 30% of the community is people who contributed for the first time in the past 6 months and being around contributing, which is amazing. Because when you start contributing to a code base like GitLab, which is like chaos, it's huge.
Massive. It's real big.
It's massive. You don't understand your way around. It took me. I'm at GitLab for 1.5 years, and it took me over a year to understand the different components of GitLab, how it works, and things like that. But even though it must be overwhelming for people and intimidating for new contributors, you're always going to find the support from either the community or other GitLab team members to help you move forward. And that's something that it's something that you can take and you can use moving forward. All this experience. And also we have some really nice events, some opportunities for people to contribute to. And let me go here in the contributing page. In the top, we have a new section is for events. I'm going to start from the hackathon.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second one. So every quarter we make a hackathon. So the next one is going to be in 46 days, 13 hours, 45 minutes.
Oh my God, there's a timer. I love
Yes.
So what is the hackathon about? The hackathon it's about people who want to contribute to GitLab, but at the same time, work together with some other people. They want to win some prizes as well. So for 1 week, starting on August 2nd until the August 9th, you're going to have the opportunity to join the hackathon. It's an online event. You don't have to be physically somewhere. Just sign up. We're going to have some sessions here. Whoop, going down.
Choose your own snacks.
Choose your own snack. Stay hydrated. So these are the simple. We're going to add more presentations here. We're going to have the opportunity to invite various GitLab team members to walk us through some of the product groups that we have at GitLab, to walk us through some of the technologies and some of the contribution opportunities that we have at GitLab. And then all the contributions are going to be counted towards winning some prizes. This is going to be updated. We're still 2 months before the event, so please. We're gonna update that, and we're gonna put some really sweet stuff from our swag shop here. Some really nice merchandise, which I love. Favorite stuff. So it's like the hackathon is an opportunity, to contribute. I think some a company in the past was using this code like contributing style. Because you get You get the swag, you get the bag. So if you have your MRs merged, you're gonna get an opportunity
Nice.
for prizes. Important. Every contribution matters, and every contribution wins. So if I go to the hackathon, on the even every MR is merged. Even if you have only one MR merged, you're gonna get something. You're gonna get a t-shirt because we appreciate your time, we appreciate your contribution, we appreciate you for dedicating your time and your effort. So
That's awesome.
mark your calendars. It's 46 days, 2 minutes.
And 20 seconds.
Other
That's
than that,
fantastic. Yeah, tell us more.
can I go just like 1 more minute? Other than that,
Yeah.
we host weekly office hour calls in the context of contribution.
That's
So
right.
every month. Now we're gonna extend it to 2 months. We're diving down in one contribution area. Right now we're doing backend. 2 months ago it was like front end because we want to make it easier for everyone to contribute. So we host weekly office hour calls. You can see the link from the contribute page. It's gonna take you to the meetup group. So our next office hour is on June 21st. You can join. If you have any questions, you don't have to even just say hi. We have people.
Yeah. You
we
can
have
just
people
come and ask questions. Sometimes I'll be there if I can wake up early enough. And sometimes our colleague Jamie will be there too. It's a really great place. Christos, I get random questions like on Twitter where they'll be like, I really want to volunteer for GitLab. What should I do? And I'm like, please come to office hours. Like that's a great place to ask that question, and we can hear more about you as well. And so
That's a great prompt, Fatima. And yeah, you can get the chance to meet Fatima. Some other every other time we have a GitLab team member walking us through some of magic happens on how to pick an issue to contribute to. Also, the other day we're just like 3-4 people, and we just had a regular chat, and we helped the first time contributor pick up their first issue to contribute to.
yay.
So yeah, it's like super chill call where anyone can show up. We can also just talk about Pokemons or talk about PJ's.
Last time I was there, I think Brian, who is an engineer at GitLab, was on the call, and we had a little bit of free time, and Brian was like, should I show you how I review contributions? And I was like, oh yes, because in a couple of months I'm gonna contribute and I need to know this. So PJ, I did some sneaky background research into what Brian looks at when he's reviewing issues.
Fatima the
But
Spy.
that was really
Perfect.
great.
Brian is amazing. They have been joining the majority of our office hour
Great,
calls.
sorry,
They've been showing us like amazing things about how to contribute, how to pick up an issue to contribute to, how to give you an MR. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Really great.
That kind of insight is really valuable for people who are contributing, because when Fatima and I were talking about open source earlier, we were talking about it as kind of smaller projects of where you can go and contribute, and ways to get involved in that. And with a larger project, which GitLab is an open core project, we have more people and we want you to come and get involved, so we have more resources to put towards it. And so finding a place that has those resources available is really important. But small open source projects that don't have those resources yet are also important to contribute to. And if you get in early, what happens if that open source project becomes,
Needs
I don't
a
know,
maintainer?
GitLab? Because GitLab was an open source project at first too. And now here we are, 10 years later, 11 years later.
So you were thinking, like, what if this small open source project that everyone really needs grows? And I was thinking, what if this small volunteer-run open source project needs a new leader? Like, we were just thinking about different paths.
Fatima's just excited to become a leader of people and to just become an all-encompassing, powerful maintainer. You just want the power, don't you, Fatima?
Christos, isn't there a term for someone who helps with merge requests at GitLab?
There are MR coaches.
MR coaches. I'm going to be MR queen.
So wait, we have people who become MR coaches who specifically help people make MRs get through. Like that's part of what they do at the company.
It's a group of people who are like reviewing the MR. The first MR is like the first line of review. So the idea is like whenever a community member is opening an MR, they go there and just review, making sure that everything is fine, and then apply right labels. So this MR can go to the relevant product group and be reviewed by the appropriate reviewer.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's the MR army of helpers.
M Army.
But you know what? Also, amazing part of GitLab is the community. The community, like we have the core.
My wife just brought me an energy drink because it's 90 degrees in our house, and I needed.
That was just like really good product marketing. I have to say, like it
I was
focused.
smooth. I was so smooth. I was so smooth.
Please continue.
This stream is not
Oh, no,
sponsored by
wait.
Monster Energy drinks.
Wait. I had to do something the same, but with myself.
It's a whoa!
All right. Me too.
Wow, Fatima! That's so much water. You have to finish that before the stream ends. Don't forget.
I'm not even halfway through. All right, Christos, tell us about merge coaches a little bit more.
No, I want to talk about the community that doing so. Oh, PJ, I love that. It's it's also warm here, even though it's dark. It's late.
Yeah.
Still, it's warm. I wanted to say about the community that we have the code contributors, and within the community we have the core team. The core team is a group of people who've been around for quite a while, and they've been a backbone of our contributions, like bridging the GitLab team members with community, because they've been actively contributing for a long time right now. They have an amazing expertise of our code base and how things work. They're always there to support our contributors and everyone, and it's like it's magic. The other day I was having a person reaching out to me, and they were like, "Hey, can I get someone from GitLab to respond to my questions? I've been posting on the chat, and I get this bot replying to me on nonstop, like really fast with something, but it's a bot, right?" And I'm like, "No, that's lead ticket. That's a core team member. He's just always online helping everyone. I don't know how he does it."
Way to go, Lee.
Whoever designed the AI on this Lee Ticket bot is amazing. Lee Ticket, shout out Lee Ticket. I might actually get to meet Lee Ticket soon over in the UK, which I'm very excited about. So
Lucky.
Crossing my finger, it's actually a robot is going to show up to dinner and be like, "Hello, I am Lee Ticket."
Can we have another episode where we invite Lee Ticket as a special guest? I think this story is just so amazing.
This bot keeps replying to me. No, that is a human.
That's a human.
They are fantastic.
Speaking of Lee, can I again quickly share my screen really fast?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me find the right. Okay, perfect. So the thing is that we appreciate everyone's contribution. And every time we have a major release at GitLab, we always the GitLab team members vote for an MVP, a contributor whose MR's contribution have had a significant impact on this GitLab release. Last time, for example, it was Lee Ticket. But what I'm trying to say here, it's not about just Lee. It's about we appreciate and value contributions, and we're trying to help support the way that we can to make it a rewarding experience. And the least we can do is share your amazing contribution with us on our in our release post. So yeah, shout out to all the MVPs from that been there for quite a while now.
Woo, go MVPs!
Heck yeah! So we are running low on time now, but really, Christos, is there anything else you can tell us about contributing? We know about the hackathon coming up. We're excited, but any sort of last words about contributing, about what it's like, or what people should do if their first step, I guess.
if you want to get this mug or a similar one, this is with an old branding. Just saying.
I do like that
Open
mug
your
a
mug.
lot, though.
Woohoo! You need to contribute. You have this mug. No,
Oh, well, or the notebook.
all
It's a
the
beautiful
That's
notebook.
true. That's right. Fatima has the new
High
notebook.
gloss notebook pages.
all right. Someone has a friend who's giving away Sprite. I want that friend, Fatima. You know people. Uh, so no, just like what I'm going to say is that regardless whether it's GitLab or something else, just don't be afraid. Contributing for your first time, I'm pretty sure it feels intimidating. It's an intimidating experience. I know, I've been there. It took me like 6 months to be able to do my first contribution and to feel comfortable about doing my first contribution. Localizing Fedora project for Greece, for example. Seek out for help. Something else that I always say to everyone is like, there are not stupid questions. Feel free to ask whatever you want to whomever you want. Everyone is gonna be there. Everyone's gonna be supportive. We always assume positive intent. So please, 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 we just reach out if you feel like it, and we're gonna be there for you. And yeah, just do it. Just do it. I sound
Just
like
do
Nike now, but yeah.
This stream is not sponsored by Nike either.
We
Fatima,
reach out to them.
I'm going to be listening to this video over again just to record audio clips of you saying things. I can't wait. I'm gonna have a little folder on my stream deck called Fatima, and it's just gonna be quotes from you. I can't wait.
Christos approves of this stream. Every time we talk about contribution, can we just have that slide in real good?
Yeah. I'll get a little like cartoon Christos going like this.
Yes. If I say I'm opening a merge request,
That's right. A million thumbs up. We'll get like specific Twitch emojis for it. Oh
that'd
man,
be amazing.
I love it.
Fatima, this is gonna be a very good show. Although, like, I'm looking forward to the future, and I know there's gonna be a point where we're looking at something and we're trying to build, and like we're both just staring at the screen like this, and it'll be 3
And bothering
minutes.
Christos and Gitter, like, Christos, please help.
Christos.
We're so sorry. Please help.
Someone in the
We've
chat's
been on
gonna be
stream
like-
for 10 minutes and we don't know what to do. And
Someone
then
in
the
the
lead
chat's gonna
ticket
be like,
bot will show up.
"Are they working? What's happening?" The big one is sweating a lot.
Do you see here?
Excuse me,
You need to
sweaty
finish.
forehead.
Is that what we need? Oh man, this has been so good. Christos, it is late where you are. Thank you for taking your evening to come and talk to us. Thank you, Fatima, for agreeing to do a show with me. I can't believe it worked. We'll have to figure out a cool intro, an actual elegant way to leave. But for now, everyone just wave at the camera. Bye.
Bye.
Puppy!
Puppy!